Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Lunch and Learn session. I'm Cristina Garcia Alvela. I'm a member of Women in Tech, the Netherlands. I'm a mechanical engineer working as CFD flow analyst here in Eindhoven, in the south of the Netherlands. It's an honor for me to be here hosting this Lunch and Learn session. I prepared these lunch and learn sessions together with a colleague of Women in Tech in Netherlands, Mira Basic, but she's not able to join us today. She will be back in the next session, but yeah, I will do my best so all of you enjoy and learn something during this half an hour. So with no more hesitation, I would like to introduce our guest, Alexandra Petty. So I'm going to show here Alexandra. And now I'm going to tell something about her. So Alexandra is a CODA. For those that maybe don't know the meaning, CODA means child of deaf adult. And when she was growing up and saw that accessibility was a huge problem for her mother, she watched how technology was developing over time and improving accessibility and the quality of life for her mother, and that sparked her interest in IT work. As a woman of color with a migrant parent, she was also confronted with lack of diversity and inclusion within the tech world. And she advocates for diversity and inclusion, as well as using technology to create societal and meaningful impact. So welcome, Alexandra. It's a pleasure to have you here today. And if you want to say something to our audience.
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you everybody for having me. Christina, thank you so much for preparing this and inviting me.
Well, a bit input about what we are going to talk about today with you, Alexandra. We are going to talk about what's the added value of artificial intelligence, how tech empower us and help us in our day-to-day lives, and also why we need D&E in tech. So please, to our audience, grab something to have lunch, a cup of coffee, and enjoy these 30 minutes with us. And for sure, I forgot to mention, but if you want to ask something, make some remark, point out, share something, please feel free to do it via the chat. I have here the chat open. I will try to read some of the questions in the meantime or during the conversation. And if not, at the end, we'll do questions and answers if we have the time. Well, let's start. The first question I think is looks like a simple question, but I think it's really personal. So, Alexandra, what is technology for you?
Oh, what technology for me is, it's a means to be able to do something that you couldn't do before. It's a way to support me or support anyone else really, um, to achieve whatever it is that I want to achieve. And it's not a solution in itself. I know some people and some organizations treat it as the solution, like, oh, we need to work from home, so Teams is a solution. It's a means to get to the solution, and that the solution would be to have people work from home. So that's kind of how I view technology. It's something to support us.
Then next step for you, more into what you are working nowadays, what is extended reality?
Extended reality, well, extended reality, so extended reality really is an umbrella term for all the different types of reality. Another term that is being used a lot nowadays, of course, is Metaverse, which it's an old term really, and there are some discussions, but extended reality to most people in this world is everything. It is mixed reality, it's virtual reality, it's augmented reality, and we're even working on well, not me, but there are organizations that are even working on parallel reality. So all these different realities together would be extended reality.
I make here a note because it's I'm not an expert on this topic, and it calls my attention that you mentioned that metaverse is an old term, when it seems like metaverse is the only thing about what we are hearing right now. No, when you are watching the news or you open some page and you're reading something in LinkedIn, it's like metaverse, metaverse, metaverse. So for me, it's like a contrast that you mentioned, like, oh, metaverse is an old term.
Yeah, it was actually coined by, I believe it was a writer. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but it's something that was already mentioned a while back. It's kind of a repurposed word. But what I'm also seeing a lot is that, especially for end users, it can be a bit of confusing and it's becoming a buzzword. So I always tell people, you know what, just focus on what you want to achieve. What is the thing that you want to be able to do that you couldn't? And if one of these technologies involves something like an extended reality metaverse solution, great. But always look towards, what am I going to get out of it?
So don't try to put everything in your box because it's in fashion or because it's the thing that someone is telling you that you should do. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
In the meantime, I would like to mention that I see we have people from all over the world. So Croatia, Nigeria, South Africa, Germany. So yeah, really international right now.
I even saw Indonesia, and my mom is from Indonesia. So
I didn't saw the
yeah.
Indonesia one. Yeah. Well, let's see now. So you were explaining us a bit about the standard reality, then how it can help us in our daily to daily lives.
Yeah, so what it can do for us, so the thing is with all these amazing technologies, is that it's not just standalone. Like back in the day, we needed something to process our text, so we got Word, Google Docs, whatever application you want to use. But what we're seeing right now is that technology is moving so fast, but it's also more of the combination of things. So extended reality on its own, it's great for viewing things. Like there are applications that bring you to whichever part of the world you want to be, and you can view it, and it's great. But it can also go a step further. And I saw recently, I saw a solution that it still is emotional for me, because it really moves me that it exists now, and it's something I've been advocating for. It's the glasses that you put on, and it's technically extended reality, but in combination with AI, in combination with so many other technologies, which can let people that are deaf or hard of hearing look at a person. The device actually processes what the other person is saying, and now they can have live captions. So they could wear glasses like I'm wearing right now. I could look at you and I see the live captions. So, and that is something that really touched me, because that is tech for good. And that's, what I think is really important.
Tech with a purpose.
It's a purpose. And it's something that brought tears to my eyes, because I wish my mom had that when growing up.
For sure.
So I think it's the combination. It's the combination of extended reality, having a purpose, and whatever else technology can support it, be it AI, be it machine learning, which of course is a form of it. There's so much that you can do now.
Yeah, and then I also think here enters a bit the also people part. No, it depends a bit in which hands the technology is. You will be able to apply it or not, because if the person that makes the decision has more into I want to make money, or I want just have fun, or so it's also really but like your person, for example, you are a person that lived that situation, so for you will go for that, no doubt. But someone else maybe don't get that, or is not even aware of these situations, so will not think about those purposes.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think then we can move into the next question. I think it's a bit related with that, no? And with what you mentioned before, you were mentioned should not be use technology, should be what you want to do and which tools I can take to I can use to go for it. So technology is now like hot topic. I think when you are going to decide what you want to study, like 18 years old, probably someone is going, if you are not that clear on it, probably someone will tell you, do engineering, go for IT, no, something like that, because at the end you are going to be able to do something with it, no? That is job. So you think there is like a special reason why people should join technology?
I think first of all, you should like it. That's step one. There's people that don't like it. Follow whatever brings you joy. That's what I always say. But look towards what you think would fulfill your values, your needs. Like my reason for going into it was because I wanted to create an impact, and this is the thing that I saw that made impact. For someone else, that could very well be baking. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
It
yeah.
could be anything really. And if you go into technology, my main thing would be aware of what jobs there are, because you could go into hardcore coding, which I think is
Mhm.
amazing when people do that. I tried it, really was not for me. um, but you can also go to the people side of things, which is what I
Yeah.
do, and help others understand what technology can mean to them, or help them get insight like, hey, yeah, technology is moving fast, but you know what? You can do this, you can understand this, and you can work with it. So that's mainly what I do. And there's everything in between, from creating an IT environment for a company, to setting up machines for a company, to designing the IT
Mhm.
environment for a company. There's so much that you can do. So see what brings you joy. What is it that interests you, that really grabs your attention, and what is the purpose for you to do this? And that
Yeah.
could be anything.
And I think it's sometimes not that clear. I like to have this idea that technology involves a lot of things. Sometimes you can have the
Yeah.
idea of that technology is a computer. I have to be sit with the computer, and I yeah find more and more people that is in the people side of technology that I find really interesting. And I will say, for example, to our audience, if maybe you can write down in the chat which kind of roles do you have in technology, because I think that helps to people discover things that they never heard about or they never imagined, and then it will say, oh, this looks like something I will like and I will enjoy to do. But yeah, I think that's also like the fun of technology, yeah, that once you are into it, you will discover small things every day, small, like new paths, new ways you can evolve. I think that's
Mm.
actually what I like the most about technology, that is so huge that if you feel it is not your thing anymore, then you can do a jump, a small or a huge jump, and go to the next thing, all like inside the technology world. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
what you said, I actually started out as a planner. I didn't have
Oh,
an IT education at all, because
I didn't knew this.
when I was in high school, the IBMs with the, what was it, the 260s, I think. You had the DOS command line, and there
Uh-huh.
was spreadsheet. So that should tell people how old I am.
Oh.
So, but that was
Don't put
just
that in the
starting to
chat.
come out. Yeah, but that was just starting to come out. So I started as a planner in hardware, and planning field engineers, and
Okay.
eventually I went to project support, and then I was like, wait, you know what? I want to do adoption and change management for innovative technologies.
So
So your
yeah, clear
path,
example of a path.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah. Um, then a bit more like personal. I think you already gave us some hints about this question, but where your passion for D&E comes from?
Yeah, so diversity and inclusion, I think, for me, of course, partially because of my mom's background, and the limits on accessibility, that to this day, even in 2022,
Mm-hmm.
she's still experiencing this. And she's 75, so it's like,
Oh,
why are you
yeah,
still experiencing this? It shouldn't
yeah,
happen. But other things as well. I also really believe that we need all these different perspectives to come together, because um, my life has been different from your life. For
yeah,
instance, you had your challenges, I had my challenges. I'm seeing people from India, from Egypt here, everywhere in Cleveland, USA,
yeah,
South Africa, and everybody has their own experiences and perspectives. And I think when you pull that knowledge together, um, that it's really going to help you build a better product, something that can serve everybody,
yeah.
that hopefully can make a real impact. And I also did this for another company I worked for. I took it upon me to do some recruitment, and what I've also noticed is, from a practical, pragmatic side, is that if you're looking for candidates, you really want to have your candidate pool
Yeah.
as big as possible. And if you focus or not aren't aware of implicit bias, and you code your job opening to a certain type of people, you're going to miss out on a
Yeah.
lot of potential candidates. that
And
also can,
a lot of information, no? Like a lot of
yeah,
extra knowledge, extra, yeah.
exactly, yeah. And they all bring their own unique perspectives with them, and I really think it's, first of all, it's human decency, but also it's practical. Don't limit yourself, expand.
Sorry, that's
No,
my
it's okay.
that's my ring bell. Yeah, no, but completely agree. And I think, yeah, we are talking about technology. Yeah, there is something like, yeah, specific, but diversity and inclusion or the implicit bias, you can see it in everywhere, no, like in really small decisions or really small actions that you have to do during your daily life. For sure, for example, in the case of your mother, those are over like whelming, because it's less, even less people, the one that will be able to reach out and say, hey, here
Yeah,
we have a problem, or here we have something. But yeah, I think things that you never realize, and then one day you just stop, think about it. It's like, who made this decision and why they didn't take into account this and this, when I know a lot of people that has, like. So yeah, um for sure, I think we should continue evolving to something more mixed. And even if sometimes I realize, even myself, that I try to have an open mind, that I have this kind of bias
yeah,
and I don't realize about them, but that's because you grow with that. So I think it's actually like a personal exercise to
yeah.
try to be aware of those things, and then it will be easier for all of us to move to that part.
Yeah, exactly. And even I, with I have implicit bias in favor of the deaf and hard of hearing community. That's
Mm-hmm.
always the first thing I think about, because
Yeah.
that is my reference. I have a mother that can't hear,
Yeah,
so that's
exactly.
my reference. And when she was running into a situation at the general physician, who had installed a little doorbell to let people in, I was like, okay, but she can't hear the buzz for opening the door. So I brought it to their attention, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we didn't consider this." And then I was sat there, and I was like, "Wait a minute!" I It was a second thought to me. I was like, "Wait, but how do blind people know which
Yeah, button to
button
touch.
to
Yeah,
press?"
yeah,
And they're like, "Oh yeah, we didn't think of that either." And I didn't think of it until I was physically there, because
exactly.
I
Yeah,
my first thought was the deaf and
there.
hard of hearing community. Yeah, it's an
Yeah,
exercise, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. And let's see if we can have a positive mind right now. So, have you seen things changing with respect to diversity and inclusion during the time you have been working? So, since the first moment you joined, let's say, your first job in tech world until now?
Absolutely, I have seen a huge change, and the larger organizations, like Microsoft, and there's a whole bunch more, HubSpot and whatnot. Those organizations are really leading this change,
Mm-hmm.
because they are putting their money where their mouth is, basically. And I'm starting to see it trickle down as well. It's spreading over
Mm-hmm.
other, how do you say that, business sectors as well. And one of the things that I really found interesting was, that I've started even seeing banks, like financial institutions, applying new diversity and inclusion
Mm-hmm.
policies, in, for instance, paid time off, for instance. So there's, how do you say that? Thinking of the right words, because it's popping in my brain in
Yeah,
in Dutch.
yeah.
So what I'm seeing is that, organizations are changing their policies in regard to bank holidays. So let's say Christmas, for instance. There are multiple religions, of course. Not everybody celebrates
Mm-hmm.
Christmas. So what they're doing now is they're giving those days back to people if they want that. So
Yeah.
those bank holidays are given back, and they're added to the pay time off, and then they can decide, you know what, I don't celebrate Christmas, but I celebrate Hanukkah or
Mm-hmm.
Kwanzaa, or
Yeah.
I want to celebrate Pride, or
Yeah.
whatever else is applicable to your life.
Yeah, but really give that freedom to be able to enjoy your life and enjoy
Yeah.
your job. So yeah.
Yeah. And if you start advertising that as well in your job openings, like I said, the
Mm.
practical side of things,
Yeah.
I would apply to a company like that in a heartbeat. Well, not now, I'm happy where I am,
Mm-hmm.
but that's something that would really pull me in, because I'm like, hey, you know what? This is a company that is putting their money where their
Yeah.
mouth
An
is.
extra. Yeah.
Exactly. It's really showcasing. It's not performative, it is action.
Mm-hmm. But here then something pop up in my mind, because I think you gave us some hints about your vision of how diversity and inclusion is right now in the tech world. But you mentioned, and I think I have the same idea, the big companies are putting a lot of effort on it, but sometimes I feel like it's because they don't want to be in the hot spot. So they don't want to be that company that pop-ups in Twitter or pop-ups in, well, not now in Twitter even, but I mean, on the news now, like in the news or in the newspaper, like, this company has this problem, this company has an attorney because someone has said that they have problems. So you feel it's more because of this idea of we have to do it because if not we are in the hot spot, or really there is people inside the organizations at high levels that are pushing because they think it's a good thing to do?
Um, it can be both. And, ideally, of course, it comes from a genuine, authentic place of human decency.
Yeah.
Um, but I am seeing it's a bit of a mix. Like, for instance, Microsoft as an example. I know that the CEO, Satya Nadella, they had a child that had some disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
So the changes were coming from a real authentic place, and of course their reference of, hey, this is what I've seen
Yeah.
my child deal with, so I want to improve. And from there on, it kept moving. It got like a snowball
Mm-hmm.
effect. It
Yeah.
started from one point. I believe the Xbox adaptive controller was one of the first, and now we have an adaptive kit for opening a laptop.
Yeah. That seems
If
like
you're
a really simple thing, but you didn't have it at the beginning. Yeah.
exactly, it wasn't there. um, and I think, if it comes from that place, you're going to have a much greater impact and a much greater effect. If it comes from the place of, oof, I don't want to deal with a lawsuit, yeah, there will be change, but it won't be as open as and authentic as it could be.
Yeah.
And if you do it from an open and authentic place, and you include the people
Yeah.
that you want to help and support, it's going to be a completely different type of policy. Rather than restrictive, it will be more open. At least
Yeah.
that's what I've
Completely. Yeah.
seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope really that we are moving more to that. And again, as you said, as many diversity we have in our teams, more personal histories we are going to have. So
Yeah.
many, much more challenges we are going to be able to, congregate, let's say, or to join together and say, hey, but we didn't thought about this. Or, I mean, for sure, it's not going to be a change of one day to other day. Yeah, I think at least I think we are having from your side a positive view that we are going somewhere that is better than now. So yeah.
Absolutely.
At this point, I would like to say to our audience that please, if you have any questions, write them down and we will go through them, or any comments to Alexandra for sure. And then, let's stop a bit with the part of diversity inclusion in tech. And now we move to another topic, or related, but not that much. So what is inclusive design? Like how
Ooh,
you mix these two things in the same sentences and how you make it real.
yeah. So inclusive design principles. I was introduced to it. I believe it was early last year.
Oh.
And so, what I like, again, I have a certain reference, so I will always think, like, oh, yeah, but okay, what if I can't hear? So, inclusive design principles takes it even broader. It's not, let's say, I'm making an application and it relies on sound cues. So my first thought would be, okay, but my mom can't hear. She
Mm-hmm.
uses that application, and what is it going to do for her? Now, take it a step further. Not just someone who cannot hear, but what if the environment is very noisy? So you can design for something and have it be a more broader type of design. So you can take in all these extra questions. So what if it's not just if I can't see, but what if it's dark and it's harder to see?
Mm-hmm.
So inclusive design means it's inclusive for everyone and for every situation. And I really thought those inclusive design principles, and everybody can Google it, by the way. I thought it was really interesting because you're not focusing on that one particular group. You're focusing
Mm-hmm.
on everyone, because everyone could potentially deal with this situation. So I thought that was a very interesting way of approaching development, actually, in this case. And when explaining this to the developers that I knew, they were like, "Oh yeah, that's not something we considered because we consider, oh yeah, but color deficiency. Oh wait, maybe you can't hear." But if you take it more broad, like, okay, so what if I'm in an environment where it's hard to see because it's dark, there's not a lot of lighting? What if I'm in an environment where it's extremely noisy? Think of a machine room, for instance. It's really, really noisy,
Yeah.
up to the point that you need to wear you're in engineering. So, but yeah, so that idea of taking it even further and letting go of just specific situations and look at the broader scope of things, I think it can really help people that are developing to think of everything, actually.
Yeah. Then here I have like the contours with what typically our daily life is. And right now we are really in a fast thing. So we have a problem, we want a solution. And that is not compatible with inclusive design, because if I hear what you mentioned, inclusive design is really like sit down, talk what we have, try to open. So that needs time, needs investment, needs, yeah, it's not going to, I'm going to have a product in 1 week. It's really, I want to have a product that will be a real solution for a lot of
Exactly.
things. So
Yeah.
also it's I think kind of a challenge in the sense that fighting for, yeah, stop a moment. We are not in a hurry. We don't want to just put a product in the market, and sometimes go against my feeling of how it works right now. Typically, when you are in D&E or, yeah, creating something new, that it's always like you have this day, you have to, yeah, like this money, this time, and these people. So yeah, I think it's it's really interesting, but a huge challenge at the same time.
It is, but the interesting thing is, I actually recently read an article about it was the UK, and about how web shops are missing out on, I think it was like 31 billion pounds,
Oh,
which is a lot of money.
a lot.
I don't have it,
A
not
lot.
today, not yesterday, not tomorrow, um, but they were missing out on that staggering amount of money from people with disabilities because their design was not inclusive. A simple web shop, if I can't use if I can't use a screen reader, or if I can't change the settings so I can actually see, yeah, then why would I order with them? I will go to a different shop,
Yeah, for sure.
or bring it to a physical shop. It's a huge pool of money that people are actually overlooking. These folks also have money to spend. So saying like, hey, you know what? Let's stop a moment and look at how inclusive we're designing. That could potentially open up, in the UK at least, a 31 billion pound
Yeah,
market. So,
completely.
if you're looking at time and return on investment, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, and now maybe hints for, or a small helps for our audience. What do you think that ourselves we can do when we are in our workplace or our work life to realize if we are in an inclusive and safe environment?
Oh, so I think first of all, you look at the company policies. So, what policies do they have in place? Do they have a whistleblower policy? If applicable, not all companies have to deal with that. But I knew someone who worked somewhere who didn't have a whistleblower policy. They pointed out something that wasn't honorable, and potentially illegal, and they're fired. So that's not quite a safe environment. So look for the policies. What policies are there for inclusion, diversity? Is it maybe even going to be audited within the company? I know companies that are actually now doing internal audits to see if people are living up to these policies. And look at their websites. How much inclusion is in the pictures? How many men do you see? How many women do you see? Do you see any people of color at all? So that should give you at least a hint of how far a company is willing to go, and how important they make it. And if you are talking to people at a company, ask them. It's one of my questions. What do you do for diversity and inclusion? And if they have to think about it, that's okay. I rather they think about it and then give me an offhand answer.
And don't be afraid to ask, no, because sometimes I think
Yeah.
you can feel afraid, or even you can take it for granted, like, oh, we are, for example, in the Netherlands. I'm living in the Netherlands, for sure the company will have a policy, and then you can be surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, look to the company policies, see what they do on their website, see what the people are posting, and what people are working there,
Mm-hmm.
and ask.
Yeah, for sure. About implicit bias, you will go for something similar, or that
For
is maybe a more personal exercise.
Yeah, for your implicit bias, that is 100% personal. So whenever I feel like, oh, I have a certain negative thought about something, because, the way I grew up or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I will stop and think like, okay, so where is this coming from? What? Because I know if I have this negative thought, I have work to do. Not the other person. It's
Mm-hmm.
me. I have work to do. If something makes me uncomfortable, I will sit in my discomfort. It's
Yeah.
not comfortable, it's discomfort. I will sit in it and I will ask myself why. And I think Mira actually shared this one, the implicit bias quiz from Harvard.
Oh yeah,
That
I
one
think
is
we, yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I really recommend it. I was surprised at my bias. I was like, oh, this is news to me. I
uh,
have work to
yeah.
do.
Yeah, yeah, but I completely agree. And yeah, and actually, it's sometimes I feel bad because it's like, wow, man, Christina, but why you, for example, now you don't feel comfortable, or you feel scared, or you feel, and
Yeah,
then it's like, I mean, I don't have any experience or anything that happened to me in the past. It's just like maybe I'm not used to it, or I
yeah,
saw this new when I was a kid, or someone tell me something. So yeah, but for sure, yeah, again, it's time is sitting with yourself and stop a bit, and yeah,
yeah.
think about it for a while. um yeah, you wanted to add something?
No, I was just looking at
Oh
some comments here.
yeah.
And I saw someone that said something interesting. Inclusive design sounds very similar
Yeah,
to user centered design or universal design theory for learning. So
this one.
amazing. That is something I am
Yeah.
definitely going to Google. So thank you for
we can
sharing that.
we can also learn something always in this
Exactly.
lunch and learn
Yeah.
session. Yeah, so well, from my side, I don't have more questions to you today, Alexandra. I would like to again encourage our audience, if they want to ask something, if you have some minutes of your time, if they want to ask something, please write it down in the chat, and we are going to read it. But yeah, from my side, I'm really happy to have this conversation with you. And actually, I feel really like I really like when people is able to talk about different topics with such a level of knowledge and such a level of interest on it. So you are a clear example that technology is not just one thing that is there; it's really evolving and touching all the different parts of our daily life. And I think that's something really interesting and important to show and to say to people. So that's technology is part of our daily lives now,
Yep.
and I think it's going to grow and grow and grow. But if there is people that has the purpose and the good reason to use the technology and make it evolve, I think then we can do the good things with it.
Absolutely. And I
Um,
would like to say one more thing. If anyone is
mhm,
interested in tech, maybe building is not for you, maybe coding
mhm.
is not for you, maybe even people isn't for you. It's not for everyone. I totally
Not
get it.
that.
But there's another aspect of technology that I think a lot of people forget, and that is ethics.
Yeah,
Just because we can doesn't mean we should, or that it's ethical. So, you know what? I would say look into that too. And if you have kids maybe that are interested, but they're more on the philosophy side, ethics would be amazing because we're going to need a lot of ethics in the future,
yeah,
100%.
that's for sure. And here I see we have a question from Miracle that says, I work in tech sales, and do you have any idea, clue on how I can accelerate? Oh,
Oh,
that's a
well,
big
that's a
one.
broad question, but if you want to make more sales or if you want to improve yourself, one of the things that I noticed that the very, very successful people in sales actually believed in what they were selling.
Yeah.
Believe in it. If you don't believe in it, no, don't do it, because if you won't be genuine, you won't be authentic, and as humans we will notice this, we will feel this, we will sense it. So you have to truly believe. I hate doing sales, so respect miracle that you can do this. Oh, amazing. um, but I always sell I used to sell accidentally because I was so convinced that this thing could
Talking,
be.
no? Like,
Yeah, I would explain what it does,
yeah,
what the added value could be, and then people were like, "Yes, I want one." I'm like, "Oh, really?" It's, believe in it. If you truly believe, then yes, it will sell.
yeah.
I
Okay.
hope that helps.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. I think that's part of the key. And I really also respect them because sometimes the other person can be less or more, yeah, open to hear you. So I think
Mhm.
that's also a huge part of the job to be able to go there. You don't know the other person and, yeah,
Yeah.
do your best and try to convince them. Oh, here we have another question. Mm. Oh, but this is about, thanks for sharing. How does one get involved in the people aspect in tech? Oh, that's a
That's a good
interesting
question.
question.
Yeah. So how does one get involved in the people aspect in tech that is trying to get people to understand and feel more comfortable? Yes, that is exactly what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the first things that I would recommend is follow something about change management. There is, for instance, ProSci, that is a methodology. That's one that I did. But there are many change management methodologies, but it all boils down to the same thing: making sure that people are aware of something, what the added value is. And I know it's a buzzword as well, and it's going on the bullshit bingo. Oh, sorry, pardon my French. But it's one of those words, but it is still apt. But dive into change management, and it's also behavioral science. So I'm not a behavioral scientist, but I do follow a bunch of behavioral scientists, and they are very good in explaining the scientific part of how people will always want to behave. What are the things that we are basically innate built to do? We
Mhm.
always want to go back to the way it was before, so it's very hard to get them to move forward. So following behavioral scientists, getting into change management, um, like I said, ProSci is a really good one. It's expensive, but it is really, really good. And from there on, it's looking towards adoption and change management roles, really. And also look for a product that you think really is helpful. Again, like with the sales question,
Yeah.
you have to believe in the product, because if I don't believe in Microsoft Teams or extended reality and I have to train people in it, they're not going to buy it.
Mm. Yeah, I think
Literally,
you don't even going to put the time you need to prepare yourself
yeah,
to go there. At the end, you're going to stop at some point because, yeah, if you are not 100% into it, you have always a lot of things to do. Time is not the thing we typically have. So,
no,
yeah, so probably
yeah,
choose the thing that calls you, yeah, catch your eye.
absolutely. And one thing, patience.
Yeah.
Patience. You need patience. I started doing volunteer work with people that have very low digital skills, which is absolutely fine. And I keep doing it because they are teaching me patience. And
Yeah.
they're helping me think, okay, wait, I'm going too fast. I need to go even one step back, maybe even more a step back. So I hope that helps.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we are running out of time. And yeah, so again, I want to thank you, Alexandra, for this conversation. I think our audience has enjoyed and has take some notes about what they can do about diversity and inclusion. Yeah, about virtual reality, metaverse, that is an old term. But yeah, really, thank you a lot for sharing all this with us. Yeah. Uh, I hope everyone enjoyed. For sure, if you have any more questions to Alexandra, feel free to connect with her in
Yep.
LinkedIn, for example. Also with us, with Women in Tech Netherlands via our channels. And yeah, I will say that see you in the next Lunch and Learn session. And yeah, thank you, Alexandra, for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Bye, everyone.
Bye.